You're listening to Talk Commerce. Subscribe and download at talk-commerce.com.
Welcome to this episode of Talk Commerce. Today I have Lori Schaeffer. She is the CEO of Digital Wave Technology. Lori, go ahead, do an introduction for yourself. Tell us your day-to-day role and one of your passions in life.
Okay. Well, Brent, thank you very much, and thank you, Talk Commerce. My name is Lori Schaeffer, and I'm the CEO of Digital Wave Technology. And Digital Wave Technology, the easiest way to think about it is all things product. And we will talk a little bit about what all that means, but basically we combine a master data about everything about a product, and we're able to very easily connect into the digital commerce as the platform that drives everything on that site, and also a lot of AI and generative AI content. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Passions, I have a lot of passions, Brent. So it's hard to pick one. But since we were just, I think as I got on, we were talking a little bit about weather and the fact that I live in Florida. I've always had a passion for the ocean and understanding sea life and the beach and, sports within the ocean, paddleboarding in the ocean, surfing. I'll pick that one for today.
That is a fantastic passion. We're both connected with water. Minnesota has lots of water.
Lakes.
I think there's as many boats in Minnesota as there are in Florida, and we probably have an equal amount of shoreline, if you can believe it. But anyways,
I can believe it.
We'll move on. Before we get started, though, you have graciously volunteered to be part of the Free Joke Project. I'm going to tell you a joke, and all you have to do is give me a rating on that joke, 1 through 5.
I think I can handle that one.
So, yeah, and I have a very good one today. You're just going to love it. All right, here we go. Why are chickens always so mean to each other? Because they use foul language.
Very good. I would have to give that one a 4.5. Can I do a half?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you like how I kind of ramped that up? Like, this is going to be a great joke, and then I just landed it with, oh my gosh.
I was waiting for it to cross the street, but
you were just
happen,
like, oh, yeah. I saw the eyes roll. All right, so products and marketing, and I love this subject. I was in the e-commerce space for a long time as an agency owner in the digital solution integrator space for Magento specifically, but we didn't really ever. Our role was never to get their product sold. Our role was to get their product to be presented to sell. So I'm always fascinated after that product is there or as it's getting there. Tell us a little bit about how you help those clients in that part of it after they've got their product. And maybe you even help with the development of the product branding and things like that. But give us some background on how that plays in.
Sure. So a little bit, of background on what Digital Wave does is, again, as I said, all things product. It's really, when I think about it, it's all things about getting that product to market from a technology standpoint. So one of the big areas that we cover is product information management, master data management, and really that foundational data lake, if you will, of everything about a product. Not just what you need from a standpoint of product content, but also all of the historical sales and the projections and anything to do with the financials. So really think about it as literally everything about a product. We can even get into attribution for product lifecycle management and a number of other things. So we then have a number of solutions that are used on top of that. Think about that product information, product experience infrastructure, everything from a lot of AI solutions that do everything from automating product content, automating attribution, making sure it's the best attributes for SEO, things like planning, assortment planning, financial planning, pricing, dynamic pricing, life cycle pricing. So a number of different things that all use that same product content.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I've had quite a few PIMs on, and that's product information management
Yeah,
systems.
very
Uh,
different.
how do you recommend a client get into the different pieces of that puzzle as you get the product to market? So typically you'd go, you'd develop the product, you'd put the product in your PIM, and then your PIM would pick the channel to go to. It could be your e-commerce, your POS, or you might have multiple stores or multiple languages. So tell us a little bit about your philosophy behind that.
Sure, it's a great question. So one of the things we did, Brent, and I've been in the retail or retail tech industry for 30 some years. So know a lot about merchandising in general and marketing in general. E-com is a piece of that. Certainly now it's really, when you really think, it's ubiquitous shopping. And so when I and the team, we started the company, we look back at the other providers out there, master data providers, PIM providers, and we looked very quickly at, okay, what is it that we need to do radically differently to really stand out? And one of the things is full automation, because so much of e-commerce is not automated. I think back to the days I used Magento. Now, these are a while back, but you're hand keying in the product description, you were hand keying in the attributes, you were hand keying in, we were trying to take photos and bring the images in. And what we've done is really looked at it more as a foundational recognition that the world is going towards AI, it's going towards analytics, and traditional companies of MDM and PIM, and for example, were built at least say 5 years back, and they weren't built with the thought of analytical analysis of everything that you can do to automate and analyze the products right within that platform. So the difference with Digital Wave is everything is AI native, and it's on what's called an analytical database that can number crunch high amounts of volume. Because what we recognize is the ultimate end users, they want to get answers fast. They want to bring product to market very quickly. And then once the product is to market and you've got that speed to market element done, you want to start to incorporate a lot of the consumer data and have that all automated into the e-commerce process.
Yeah. So tell us, so do you sit between the PIM or the e-commerce platform, or you sit aside it and then give them advice or analytical advice, I should say, to help manage that process?
It's a great question. So the way the architecture that we have is designed is that it's mock architecture, machine with all built-in machine learning, and we can pretty much drive the hierarchies and all of the automation that then drives right into that e-commerce as the front end of it. So that's how that works. But it's really about back to, I think what you want to talk about on the call, less about the technology and more about, okay, so what kind of, why do we care about all this? And when you look at the way the consumer's changing and the way technology is changing, and the fact is that, companies have to become far more automated and more efficient with the mundane tasks so that their teams can focus more on, how to better bring their products to life and sell more for, to the consumers.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about having to hand key things into Magento and make sure that the product's there. What are some of those mundane tasks that you see trending in this next year now that are going to be solved by solutions like you have?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, everybody is hearing generative AI until you're blue in the face and sick of hearing it from a marketing standpoint. But what I want to talk about more is, okay, things that are actually working for retailers and brands right now. And some of that is, again, I'll call it the very early steps of generative AI, meaning that, we all know this is going to change the world in a lot of ways. But in terms of the e-commerce space right now, certainly a couple, if I think of different, I'll call them use cases or solutions that we're quite familiar with and still brings tremendous value, both from an efficiency standpoint as well as profitability. Is let's take, for example, probably the most mundane, but done right, being able to produce all of that product content in brand voice. And using AI techniques that are able to batch process hundreds and hundreds of items and be able to write that content so that it sounds just as though a human wrote that content in the brand voice that content should be written in. So ensuring that certain words are not used, ensuring that it's, if you speak in first person or third person, that's used, ensuring that certain key phrases that tie back to the brand are used. And then what it allows is copywriters or people that, they may not be called copywriters, but those in the e-commerce world that are having to, in the past, hand key all that in. Now what we're finding is that those individuals become the editors. They're the editors in chief, and let the computer do the more mundane lifting, and then they can just look at each piece of content and approve it, and then be able to focus on other things. Another area is automatic attribution. And even over the past, 15 months, we've gotten extremely good by working with a number of retailers and brands on being able to, for example, just by looking at the image of a product and being able to scrape off all of the ingredients, for example, being able to look at a blazer and instantly be able to tell what type of lapel it is and what color it is and what type of sleeve it is. Those sorts of things have all been perfected now, so that when trying to figure out those attributes, first pass, a lot of that work, say 70% of it, can be done automatically. Also, when you go back in and you look at your current data, you can fill in the holes. And we've worked with companies from everything from large DIY to high fashion apparel, and really being able to streamline that whole product attribution. And then out to SEO, when you think about SEO, oftentimes the attributes you have on e-commerce may not be the ones that consumers are searching for. So being able to come back and say, have you thought about these attributes? Because that's what the searches out there are saying, and that's not perhaps what you have on your site. All of that, turns into, obviously, in the long run, a happier consumer. They're going to find your products and hopefully, raise conversions. Other areas like being able to instantly summarize reviews within the this technology, being able to look at any product, see all the reviews across different, if you're a brand, across different retailers, if you're a retailer, all of your reviews, or even outside elsewhere, by pulling those together. And then saying, these are great comments that customers have made in the review, and let's incorporate those with the press of the button right into product content, so that you're bringing that to life by, here's what our consumers are telling us. These are all things that just really now with generative AI that we're able to do very quickly. I mentioned a fourth one, which is advertising, above the fold, below the fold, being able now to combining a number of different AI models together so that we can create the lifestyle image right, from scratch, that is tailored to the type of ad you want, automatically create the tagline, the brand logo, and be able to create an ad which may have taken, weeks and weeks, in a matter of a couple minutes. And then you can still edit that ad. You don't have to take it as is, but it really gets the juices flowing. It uses the e-commerce team to use what only humans can do, and let the computer automate the mundane tasks.
Yeah, that's such a good description of AI. I heard an interview this last week about from the founders of Etsy, and they were saying how maybe Etsy couldn't be reproduced now because people's shopping behaviors have changed so much in the last 10 to 15 years or 20 years almost. What other trends now do you see happening in shopping that people or that merchants are going to have to adopt to match what shoppers are doing?
Well, obviously personalization everybody hears about, that will happen. I don't think we're all quite there yet, but people do expect for the shopping experience to be personalized. And I think the technology, in some ways, the technology drives the behavior, and in other ways, technology needs to catch up with consumer behavior. And, on the personalization front, I think the technology is catching up in the sense that now you're going to be able to, and it's doable right now, certainly, but the adoption hasn't quite caught up yet. But the idea of being able now to not just personalize products, complementary products, but also be able to personalize the text that's on the screen. So that's one area that can be really, if I look at a trend from a shopping perspective, the rise of social commerce is another one. Things have really dramatically changed. We're in the main social commerce sites or social media sites. That's if you look at a TikTok or you look at a Instagram or others, that's where a lot of the shopping's now happening. So it's critical to be plugging into that. Also, the video shopping on your own sites, and companies that do that. That's certainly a trend that's happening. Sustainability is yet another trend that retailers and brands are going to have to ensure that on their site that they have those key attributes that tie to the sustainability of the products and also of the brand and what they stand for. So those are a few. Price sensitivity, right now with the way the economy is, certainly that's a hot topic. Dynamic pricing. So again, I could go on, but those are some of the key things that companies are going to have to adapt to. It's not going to go away.
Yeah. From a technology standpoint, then you've mentioned AI, you've mentioned generative AI. How important is the analytical part? I think the analytical part of AI is something that a lot of people, especially end users, overlook, but maybe merchants are more concerned about because those really drive how the system returns back to the customer. Tell us a little bit about how important the analytical part of machine learning is compared to just generative.
Yeah, so generative AI is really, first of all, is analyzing text, voice, things that are not, as I call it, numerical AI. Meaning, and traditional machine learning AI is more around things like, you think of price optimization, optimizing the size points of products. So optimizing, the workflow of clicks and click-throughs and where are consumers going on the site. The analytical side is becoming more and more important. I think e-commerce, it grew up in a silo separate from the rest of the brick and mortar. And now those systems really all have to come together. And the analytical AI had been perhaps in e-commerce was more on site click-through. And outside of that, in brick and mortar, things like price optimization is an easy one to think of. Inventory optimization, demand forecasting, that's all AI. And now when you think about it, you really need to combine generative and I'll call it numerical AI to come up with the best answers for the individual consumers around what products do they want, what price, value, and also to be able, to be able to track that inventory cross-channel.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point that machine learning has actually been around for years and years and years. And
long time.
Now, the AI is such a buzzword, but it's been around in a different form, just like an algorithm theoretically is an AI because it does learn.
That's right.
From a technology standpoint, how do you see, or what do you see the biggest impact if you don't say AI? Is there new technology that's coming that's going to impact how shoppers behave?
Apps. If we don't say AI, meaning don't talk about AI and talk
Yeah.
about everything else, yeah, okay. Blockchain certainly is something that when you look at tracing the life cycle of a product. I think about jewelry, for example, expensive product. You want to track and understand where it came from. People are very focused on sustainability, and that blockchain is going to give that capability to really track the ethical process of that product as well. That's one. Certainly, I guess you could technically say it's part of AI, but I'm going to say the other thing that is happening fairly quickly is voice technology. It's been around for a while. You think about Amazon and Echo and Google, and there's been voice technology out there, but it's now coming to a point where consumers are going to be expecting in the next decade to interact with the website through voice. And that's very different when it's your website. And they want to be able to ask questions to that website through voice. And they want to be able to get answers through voice. And so that's another whole area that I think is developing very quickly. Even in back-end technology, being able to ask the questions and have the technology to be able to serve up the answers through voice. So that's another example of technology that is brought to life. Augmented reality, virtual reality, certainly that ability to, try on in the dressing room or check out your furniture in your house, be able to try on makeup. Those are other types of technologies that are now evolving very quickly, and it's the retailer or brand's job to figure out, okay, which of those are practical for the brand message that I want to communicate, to my customers.
You talked earlier about the ability to generate content in a catalog using the voice
Yes.
of the merchant. There is a voice that is recognizable now for AI, and there's phrases that are repeatedly said. How do you think
Mm-hmm.
merchants are going to handle it? It's kind of like an accent. A lot of newsrooms would have a Midwest accent, but people sometimes want to hear a Southern accent. I think that the Grammarlys of the world and AIs of the world are really stripping out a lot of that uniqueness in the language, and that at some point language models are going to have to grow past the generic speak that comes out of it. And I think about even opening phrases when you're writing an article or something like that. In the ever evolving world, like that is such it's such an AI statement now. And even if you've said it yourself or delving into, even if you've said it to yourself, if you've said the word delve before ChatGPT, you can't say it anymore, especially you can't write it.
Yeah. There's no question we're in the early stages, but already, the thing I certainly believe, and I know, with our company, we hire all people from the industry because technology on its own is not going to give you a natural voice, natural brand voice. But working to be able to use that, I keep going back to use AI to do the mundane tasks. Don't try to use AI for everything, because that human touch is critical. It's absolutely critical. That's never going to go away. And the human brain works radically differently than computer technology AI algorithms. They're very good for repetition. They're not good for creativity. And I think even in everything I know that we do or we touch, it's make sure that the AI piece doesn't come through so strong that it sounds unnatural. you have to have the human element, I believe, in everything. And I could be wrong, but I'm not a believer that you can ever take that away unless it's just a routine task that AI can do.
I'm going to continue to say that we produce things for other people to buy, not robots to buy. And we're selling things to people, not robots. And we're writing things for people to read, not Google. Not Google to read.
That's right.
So that last pass through by a human to ensure that it is readable by a human is so important. And I suppose at some point we'll be able to have some kind of a test on readability that's done by AI after, but even that's going to morph into some kind of blandness because it passed it. But yeah, things change. Language changes every year, and if we're not keeping and if we are dependent on AI writing our language, then we are going to get stuck in that year that it started. So we don't want to be stuck in this year for the rest of our lives. We are going to have uniqueness that language because it only knows what it knows.
Yeah, I think the chatbots are a great example right now. And there's a lot of great work being done on chatbots, but the ones I've used so far, I know right away. It's like, get me past this. Get me to a human being.
And it's increasingly frustrating when you go through the chatbot's questions and then it brings you in a full circle back to, is this what you would like? Well, no, we just talked about it. Give me to a representative, and then you go through the circle again.
Agent.
Agent, right? So almost like hitting 0 a bunch of times on the phone when you had to go through a phone tree.
Yeah, it's a big task for any kind of retailer or brand in the e-commerce game right now to find that balance, because the technology is coming, it's here, it's not going to go away, and at the same time, that human touch, you can never underestimate that. So, as I say, back to what is the human brain best for? What is the AI technology best for? Creativity is the human.
If you have a piece of advice that you'd give to a retailer who has a product that they're selling, and we're going to go into Black Friday, what would be the number one thing they should focus on this coming holiday season?
Black Friday, right after the election. I'm thinking about the economy right now and the inflation and so forth. I mean, I'd have to say for this year, my advice would be really focus on the product value for the price. Just because it's a rough time for a lot of consumers right now.
That's great advice.
And you have to sell the value of the product.
Lori, we have a few minutes left. As we close out, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug about anything they'd like. What would you like to plug today?
A shameless plug would definitely be Digital Wave Technology. I do think it's an incredible company. We are doing things no one else is doing yet, and it's because we have both that very deep domain expertise as well as an incredibly talented architectural and R&D team, and we marry those two together. So that would be my shameless plug. The other one would be just, I'm a big believer in intellectual curiosity, and I can't emphasize enough to everybody out there, don't fall into that trap of not learning, because this is now a world where you have to want to learn every day if you're gonna look back in 5 years and not be left behind.
If people want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way?
LinkedIn, certainly. My tag is Lori, Lorij, middle initial J, Schaeffer, Schafer. That's certainly one. LJ Schaeffer on Twitter. Email lschaeffer@digitalwavetechnology.com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure I get all those into the show notes. Lori Schaeffer, the CEO of Digital Wave Technology. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today.
You too, Brent. You do look like you should be the one in Florida with that shirt on. And I should be in Minneapolis instead of Florida. All All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You have everybody have a great day.
Talk Commerce is a production of Content Basis LLC. For more creative content, go to contentbasis.io.